Hey, Talo Falava. Let's Dr. John Peterson here with TE2 Edge Sports Cards coming at you live and direct from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Hope everybody's doing well out there. It's been a good week, busy, a lot of work. Family's good. The basketball coaching's going well, and so we didn't get a win last weekend at our tournament. Went 0 for 3, but overall the boys are playing better and improving each week, each practice. And so looking forward to our tournament on Sunday. Hopefully things improve and we continue to get better as a team. Not so much worried about the overall record, more interested in the progress that the boys make on the team. So they're all seventh graders, so it's been a lot of fun. Hey, listen, CSV has been running rampant through Minnesota. I don't know how it is in your state or where you live, but my goodness, people have been getting this CSV or RSV, excuse me, RSV. I know CSV is a like an Excel file type deal. RSV has been a problem, definitely. A lot of people getting sick. Seems pretty intense. Comes with a fever, pretty prolonged cough and/or sore throat, and fatigue. So stay healthy, stay safe out there. The biggest thing you can do is wash your hands frequently, wear a mask if need be, and make sure you get good sleep and drink lots of fluids. So hope everyone can stay safe and stay healthy out there. Thought I'd do a quick little weekly market update. This comes from Tradition Mortgage. Many of you know that I have a real estate license, and so I get these updates from mortgage companies and brokerages and that sort of thing. Thought I would share with you this update that I got from the week of, or for the week of November 14th through the 18th. So, plan to get this out a little earlier in the week. Just got busy with different stuff, so we're on the tail end. There should be a new one coming out here in the next couple days. So this one's titled CPI Brings Hope. Last week, the most recent reading of the Consumer Price Index, CPI, caused a major stir in the mortgage market, and for once it was a good stir. Home loan rates have been battered around the last several months, as we all well know, and have been hovering at 20-year highs. It looks like the CPI, though, dipped a little bit, and it came in significantly under expectations. So the bond and stock markets rallied quite a bit last week. If you're familiar with the bond and stock markets, home loan rates for most products dropped nearly a half point, which is a pretty big drop considering where we've been at and how we've been increasing on home loan rates for such a significant amount of time. I mean, it's been months. So some of the questions: is this a fluke? Is this a one-time event? Are we going to see inflation continue to decrease? Probably too early to tell. But one thing is for certain, that every major economic report relating to inflation for the rest of the year is going to be very closely scrutinized. So we could be dealing with some major volatility in the next few months. Um, I'd like to think that the rate increases haven't fully been felt in the economy in terms of lowering inflation. But then I'm not an economist, and I don't know for sure. So I really don't have a crystal ball as to whether or not inflation is going to continue to go down. And if we see it go down for 3 months, then we have a bit of a trend. If it goes up, stays the same, that says something else. So anyway, you have to take this all with a grain of salt. I know that the crypto market has been hit incredibly hard, and FTX recently filed bankruptcy. And those people that were in crypto, boy, they're hurting. They're hurting big time, man. Some people have lost quite a bit. Magic the Gathering, that seems to have been something that was pretty popular, and now they're dealing with lots of overproduction. I mean, honestly, I think we're dealing with a couple of different factors in terms of sports cards. One, we're dealing with the fact that the economy is dealing with some of the highest inflation we've seen in probably 30, 40 years. All right. And let's be honest, I mean, a lot of it is a result of the influx of money during the pandemic, which was needed to keep things afloat. I think, you know, it's fairly predictable that we're dealing with this inflation. When you print off millions and millions and billions and trillions of dollars and pump that into the economy, you're going to end up with some inflation. I mean, just look at places like Venezuela and other Latin American countries that have had runaway inflation. It is what happens when you print more money. Fact. Um, but a different piece from that is related more to the hobby and related more to sports cards. I'm going to go to my slabs page here now for this. Um, One of the issues that I'm hearing people talk about is that we're just dealing with a lot of overproduction of cards. Um, I mean, just there's just too many cards, too many, especially ultra modern cards. It's gotten to the point where like every card is a one of one. Well, if every card is a one of one, then it's not rare or scarce. And that impacts the value of the card. I mean, yeah, it's great to have a Luca one of one, but how many Luca one of ones are there out in the world? I mean, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands? If there's over 10,000 Luca one of ones or 50,000 Luca one of ones, what makes it special? Like what is drawing me to want to buy it and purchase it and hold it either as a collector or as an investor if it's got, you know, 25,000 other one of ones or one of 95 or 100 or 500 or whatever it might be. So I think that overproduction piece is an important factor to consider. Some people are pointing fingers at Panini and saying, you know what, Panini's just printing too many cards. They know they're not going to be around in a couple years once Fanatics takes over, unless Fanatics decides that they want to purchase Panini, which still hasn't happened yet. I mean, I'm curious as to why that hasn't happened. I mean, leave me a comment in the chat there if you have any ideas as to why Topps didn't purchase Panini. I'm totally curious. I mean, it could be lack of quality control. It could be that they're underwater. It could be, I don't know, a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not even aware of. But ultimately, right now, Panini is printing and printing and printing. And I just heard that Topps is printing something else new in terms of baseball, like some Galaxy or Star. I can't even, Cosmic. I think it's called Topps Chrome Cosmic. What in the world is that? I mean, we've gotten to the point where we're printing so much stuff. It's just, I don't know. I don't mess much with it, to be honest with you. I don't really get into the ultra modern stuff. I mean, I've got a couple ultra modern cards. Got some Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball and one Trae Young card, one Jason Tatum card. One of the reasons why I like LaMelo is just I'm a fan of his game, and I also like Edwards because he plays for the Timberwolves. So I do have a few of those cards, but not a significant amount invested in them. I mean, yeah, I've got a few pristine tens of LaMelo's Donruss rated rookie, and I've got a Anthony Edwards that's probably, I don't know, it's a flawless. It's either a flawless or immaculate. I can't remember which it is, but it's got a auto and a patch on it, so that's a pretty decent card. But yeah, anyway, I don't really get into the shiny stuff too much, honestly. So I stick with the vintage. Now, vintage has stayed relatively stable throughout the last year or so. Let's take a look at card let. Oh, and if you haven't had a chance, check out my slabs page, TE2. You can go down. You can price by highest first. That's what we got here. Some mantles up there. Little Jackie Robinson, Hank Aaron, Roberto Clemente, Willie Mays, Ted Williams, good old Dr. J, right? So you can also search by lowest first. So let's see what some of the lower cards are that I've got for sale. Ooh, Chipper Jones, 97 Bowman, near mint, 8, $15. All right, so these are cards that I picked up, mostly from boxes that I purchased. Yeah, so I don't know, check them out. Give a look. There's a Vic Power, 1964 Topps Vic Power, $15. It's a great, nice little card. So anyway, type in TE2, and you can check out the cards that I got. This last week has been pretty slow. Haven't made a sale. The week before I made 2 sales. One was a 59 Topps Hank Aaron and a PSA 4, and the other one was 1955 Bowman Willie Mays and a PSA 4. Yeah, so I sold those 2 cards the week before. But this week, no sales, so it's been pretty slow. which isn't totally surprising either. So let's take a look at Card Ladder. If you're familiar with Card Ladder, they've got the dashboard, which I don't really find this graph really too helpful, honestly. I mean, just the way that it's set up makes it really hard to see like any trends. They've got collection, they've got sales history, we've got the ladder, which I use pretty frequently. I looked up Lawrence Taylor PSA 10 recently. Let's see what that's selling for. Yeah, that card's way down. It was as high as $12,000 back on February 21, and now it's down to $5,000. So, yeah, might be a good time to get in on Lawrence Taylor, although it's still about even with where it was at in late 2020 before things really spiked. So it's kind of gone up and then way up and then now back down. What I want to highlight are these indexes. These indexes below track the aggregate daily value movements of cards across various categories, players, and key cards. The Card Ladder 50 index is like the S&P 500, made up of cards that were hand-selected by our team. Use these indexes to research specific markets within the hobby to gauge where the markets are moving. So, I don't know, it's pretty cool. So let's take a look at vintage. What's vintage done? All right, well, if you look at this, you can see that vintage really went up. This is right about Christmas time of 2020 is when things just shot way, way up. Then if you look here, it peaked out in 21. This would have been in April, and then dipped, and then it's been on a steady incline, and it's now bounced around, but it's pretty steady right now at about 13,500. All right, for the index. So it's gone from 5,800 a couple years ago to 13,500 where it's at now. So incredible rate of growth over the last, well, for sure over the last 20 years. Let's do the last 2 years. 139% growth. And then over the last year, we've seen 8.99% growth, and then predictably over the last 6 months, seeing a little bit of a decline. All right. So if you think about buying vintage right now, you think about buying the dip, yeah, there really isn't a dip to buy right now. I mean, I guess if you can find some cards that are depressed in terms of cost, you can find some good buys. I've shown a few of them, whether it was the 54 Al Kaline rookie card or the 57 Robinson that I picked up. I mean, but the vintage prices are holding pretty steady. Some people are saying things like, well, people are overpriced in their vintage. Well, if you look at this graph, really in the last year, the price of vintage has actually gone up, not down. I mean, a little over a year ago, vintage was at, I don't know, let's see here, 12,246, and right now it's at 13,547, at least according to Card Ladder's index. So, gives you kind of a sense of where vintage is at. That's kind of my main thing. Let's take a look at some of the cards. Now, the vintage piece might be inflated a little bit because of the sale of this Mickey Mantle card. So we have to remember the sample. And the size can be skewed sometimes, or the effect size of the sample can be skewed by one card, right? Because this card sold for $12.4 million. $12,400,000. That's an unbelievable amount of money. So anyway, you have that. But overall, yeah, you're looking at vintage over the last couple years. It's gone up decent. I mean, it's over doubled itself. So now let's take a look at, let's look at modern. Ooh, modern. Modern's taking a pounding. Now, if you look at the 2 years, modern still is up 75%, but compare that with the 135% that vintage is up. So vintage right now might not be as cheap of a buy, as low of a buy as Modern might be, right? Because Modern was down at 11,000 in 2020, same time frame, November, and then shot up to 28,000, and now it's back down to 19,000. So overall, there has been growth and positive real change in the value over the last couple of years. But if you look at it over the last year, you can see that vintage is on a downward trend. It's been a 31% decrease in the rate of growth. Okay, so you have that. Now all time, let's see what it says. All time, you can see this is really interesting. So Modern, bouncing around. This is they define Modern as 84 to 2008. Different people have different definitions and parameters for what is modern vintage. I used to think that vintage was like anything from mid 1940s up to 1980. But some people say it's 84. Go figure. So you take a look at this. Yeah, pretty steady, slow incremental increases, and then all of a sudden, right around Christmas of 2020, things just shot way up. And here we are at the very peak in February of 2022, where Modern is just killing it. It's at 30,424. Now, it's at 19,000. It's down 30%, right? Which should be reflected by this 1-year trend. Yeah, look at that, 31%. Okay, so is now a good time to buy vintage? I don't know. Good question. How much further down is not vintage, Modern? How much further down is Modern going to go? Is Modern going to go back down to pre-pandemic levels, or pre-pandemic levels would have been like right around in here? Because if that's the case, we got another 15,000 points to drop. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Good old ultra-modern. So here's the all-time trend on ultra-modern. Ultra-modern has seen significant growth since 2009. Peaked in April of 22. So ultra-modern was a little bit behind modern. Modern peaked around February of 22. Ultra-modern peaked around April of 22. And now look at where ultra-modern is. Way down. It's down, let's see here, 148. It's down 50 percentage points. Let's take a look. 21% rate. Well, that's actually for a year. Let's do 6 months. 28%, 3 months. Yeah, overall, ultramodern's going down, guys. It's going way down. So I guess we'll see on the PWCC auction tonight what those ultramodern cards sell for. Again, are the cards scarce enough? Are they rare enough? Knowing that rarity and scarcity are two different things. They're not the same thing. So overall, we're seeing some significant declines in modern and ultramodern, right? And right now, ultramodern is where it was at back on January last year, a little over a year ago. Not quite a year ago, about 10, 11 months ago. That's where ultramodern is currently at. So if you're looking to buy the dip, the question is how much further is this going to dip? Let's look at football. I think now might be a good time to buy some football. Possibly, I don't know. I mean, look at how much it's decreased over the last 6 months. Now again, though, the question is how much further down is it going to go? You don't want to buy up here and then have it drop down here. Some people are saying that everything's going to zero, like all cards going to zero. I find that hard to believe, frankly. But when you look back at how low things were back in 2015, 2017, 2018, I don't know. There's a long way to drop, especially for football. 7,500. Right now we're at 53,000, and this could bottom out. Really, it could. But no, we don't know if it will or not. I mean, I don't know. You have to be discerning about what you get into right now. Basketball's down over the last couple years. Actually, it's up 50%. But all time, look at this. Look at where it was back in March. Now it's dropped. Okay, and then lastly but not leastly, let's take a look at baseball. All right, baseball's had 1,000% growth in the last 20 years. Let's see, the last 2 years, 100%. Last 1 year, 2.78%. So pretty minimal growth in the last year. So what's this all mean? What it means for me is that I'm still going to be doing some targeted buying. As I sell cards, I have to replace them with other cards. And, the idea is to try and sell them. It might not be the best time to sell cards, honestly. And I'm not doing any eBay auctions right now because I think it's a little bit risky for me. I know some people are selling on eBay, doing auctions, and that's their thing, or buy it now, best offers, that sort of thing. I think right now, if you're in vintage, there's no reason to arbitrarily drop your prices because this data would indicate that vintage has been holding pretty steady. Actually, it's gone up. See, it's gone up in the last year. The last year, vintage has gone up from 12.39, 12.399 up to 13.5. So if you're buying vintage now, which I am, you're buying it a little higher than it was a year ago because there was a dip, right? So, people saying, well, why don't these vintage dealers sell their cards for less? Well, it's because the cards have held their value or increased their value. If you really want to look at where things have dropped off, you got to look at baseball, or not baseball, but you can look at football, modern, ultra modern. That's where some deals are. So, with that said, I hope you all have a blessed night. I'm going to stop rambling on here. I've probably gone on for the last 30 minutes longer than I needed to, but I appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a blessed night. Peace out. One love.